From college essays to graduate statements to career transitions, Jennifer Ansbach Coaching helps every learner take the next step with confidence. Whether you're a high school senior preparing for college, a graduate school applicant, or returning to school after time away, your words can open doors. Write, revise, rise. Visit JenniferAnsbach.com to get started. That's Jennifer, ANSBACH.com. And it's time for our annual December review and our top 10 weather events of 2025. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. Joined with me, New Jersey State Climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson. Just because it's the week between Christmas and New Year's doesn't mean we take a break. We're still working for you here, right? Right, Dr. Robinson? Just another day for us.
Weather and climate don't take a break, so how the heck can we?
That's what I said. I mean, well, hold on. Since I do more of the weather side, I was working on Christmas Day for our sleet wintry smorgasbord last Friday night. I don't know. Were you working Christmas Day?
No doubt I was doing email, as I recall.
You were doing it? Okay, all right. So we're in the same boat.
No. I've always said climatologists are smart enough to get into an aspect of the science where we don't get instant criticism.
That's right.
But we don't get that instant gratification when you nail a forecast.
It's more the criticism. It's more the criticism than the gratification. I can tell you that over the past month here. But yeah, we have a jam-packed episode for you. The last one of the year always is. We're going to start with the first half of this. We're going to talk about the month that was. We're going to recap the month of December, and then we're going to get into our top 10 events of the year. So we'll have a little fun. We'll compare and contrast here, and we'll have a good time. This video and this monthly weather roundup is brought to you by Jennifer Ansbach Consulting. If you need coaching for resumes, whether they're college resumes, GMATs, et cetera, she can do all of that for you. You can go to JenniferAnsbach.com. That's Jennifer, ANSBACH.com. Write, rise, revise. All right, so let's take a look at the month of December. So there's a couple things that come to mind. Definitely snow and cold, and I want to focus on the snow because we had our almost Jersey Shore snow special. We did get the most in Monmouth County here, but I do want to talk about the December 14th system that we did have. It was a nice snow. There was no coastal flooding. There was no sleet, unlike what we had, last week. Monmouth County, we picked up a little over 8 inches. I was one of those people. But I will say it was a little surprising because I'll hand up. I did not think that your neck of the woods was going to see as much as you did. I thought it'd be like 2 to 4 inches for that, I don't know, Interstate 78, 287 corridor. And you guys got a little more than that. But overall, it was I think it was a nice snow, and it was pretty easy to shovel.
It was pretty easy to shovel. It was pretty easy to forecast compared to many a winter situation. And it was an overperformer in a year where very few of our precipitation events have overperformed, except very locally with some of our deluges this past summer. So yeah, it was a nice tidy package, and it was over a weekend, which made it easier. And I was in New Orleans for the American Geophysical Union meeting, so I missed it, which is, I should be frowning. My cross-country skis didn't get exercised. So I did miss it, except I got to see the tail end of the melt later the follow of the week. But yeah, nice storm, got people in the mood, in the season. One of our larger early December, mid-December storms in quite a few years.
Yeah, I was looking, I don't have the stats on me, but I was kind of like perusing around, like when was the last time, we've had this much snow this early in the season. It's been a little bit, nothing incredible, but this is definitely, for Monmouth, if we're just looking at the shore, like Monmouth and Northern Ocean, it's not something you see. You don't usually see this much snow that early in the season here. Now I should say, if you were in Cape May bubble kind of did its thing, and we saw less than an inch. We had 0.5 in Villas, I believe, which is in Lower Township. But yeah, overall nice storm. I'll just shift. We'll talk real quickly about the last weekend storm. When I say last weekend, the last weekend of December, the 26th to the 27th. When we say the criticisms, right? I think I got more criticisms for that than
Oh
compliments
yeah.
for the first one.
Oh, that was a brutal forecast. That
Yeah,
that
that
was
was horrible.
essentially the forecast models. Just only the models and all, but the NAM
Yeah.
was the
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
The trouble there. I mean, if ever there's a lesson that the atmosphere is a layer cake, it's
Yeah.
right there. And you had a layer a couple thousand feet above the surface where some warm air snuck in, and the snow that always starts as snow high in the atmosphere melted, and then it was cold near the surface. There was plenty of cold air coming in, and it refroze for the most part as sleet. Sometimes it didn't have a chance to refreeze, and there was some freezing rain on contact.
Yeah.
But no one knew where that layer was going to go, right?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I knew it was going to mix, but it mixed too much to have the total. Like I was over my forecast. Like I had 2 to 4 in Ocean and Monmouth, and nowhere got 2. At least I don't, unless on your map it did, but I don't think anywhere got 2. But I was telling John Rocco. Now John fills in for me, weather, and we were kind of tag team coverage. I said this is going to be, and it sounds simple, but it's kind of confusing. Like this is one of those events where as soon as I see the precipitation fall out of the sky, I'll tell you what's going to fall for the total. And
Yeah.
where I was in Monmouth County, it started as soon as it started as sleet. I'm like, that's it. We're not going to be at 2. And we ended up with, just about 3/4 of an inch. So that was the kind of system. I mean, this was never a South Jersey system. I mean, that was always going to mostly to all rain. But even I was surprised at how far north that sleet was. Like
Right.
Sussex County had sleet, right? I mean,
Yep.
I don't think anywhere had all, not in New Jersey. Long Island, I think, was the cashed in, right? They cashed it with the highest totals.
They had 6, 7 inches, and the snowiest area was the highlands from Vernon Township over to Bergen County.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
More so than Western Sussex County
Yeah.
at all. It was kind of a northeast Jersey storm, and then up the Hudson Valley, you didn't have to go halfway to Albany. You had 8 inches, 10 inches of snow, and
Okay.
there it probably didn't mix in. But even up in Bergen County, the reports we got was at some point during the event there was some sleet mixed in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So that was just not
that's a
a
tough one. That
that
is a
that was a tough one, and I feel like, at least on my perspective, last winter didn't really feel like that. The winter before didn't feel. I don't know. I feel like it's a couple of years since I've really felt that way about a storm system here. So hopefully that's the only one for a little bit. In terms of that, hopefully there's all rain or all snow. I'll handle the coastal flooding. I'll handle the wind, but man, I mean, it was just incredible. The other thing is too, right? I mean, this was like an Alberta Clipper type system. It wasn't a
Yes.
coastal storm.
Yeah.
Like I would say the one lesson that I probably should have foresaw was not to go as high. Like I had 7 to 11 inches in Bergen County. I shouldn't have. I mean, I wasn't the only one, but still was my forecast. Like when you see that kind of system, if a system's coming from the northwest and it's snow, it's not going to be snow. It probably won't be snowing that much.
Yeah. I mean, misery loves company. I don't think anyone got it right. As I said, the one forecast model that got it right is one that people don't give a lot of credit to. And it
That's right.
seems that the one thing with these models, and you can do a whole podcast on
Yeah, we
this
can.
whenever,
Yeah.
is that certain models have strengths and weaknesses. And this one model seems to handle this pretty well. And sometimes they have years that are better than others,
Yeah.
and it's amazing if you keep a scorecard
Yeah.
on these different systems,
Totally.
and this one, people didn't pay as much attention to that NAM model.
Yeah. And you know what, too? The NAM actually got, I would say, was the most correct for that 14th system as well.
Right.
So, it was I think more people will be paying attention now.
Yeah,
Watch the
but
next storm, it won't be the NAM that gets it
yeah,
right. It'll be the
yeah, but
Euro.
as sure as you start looking at the NAM,
Yeah.
it's going to fail with the
It's
next
gonna
system because the
exactly
next system may be a coastal system,
right.
and another model can handle the coastal
Yeah.
system better.
Right.
So and that's the good thing about having different flavors of models
Right.
with some different strengths and weaknesses,
Yeah.
but you have to trust one
Yeah.
some in different situations more. And it would behoove anyone, if a similar system arises over the course of this winter, to lean more towards the NAM.
Yeah. Last point on this is
Yeah.
still why you need meteorologists, because if you just pull from one model, and a lot of people said, my phone, Apple app was showing half inch and this app was showing 7. Like, you still need meteorologists to explain it. I'm not saying we got this right, because it was, there have been better forecasts before, but you still need meteorologists there. Anyway,
Yep.
let's shift over to maybe a more uniform story. People probably all feel the same way, as how cold it was in the first half of December. I mean, we're still gonna, we're recording this on the 30th. I know we're gonna end up below average for the month, but
Absolutely.
what can you tell us about the month as a whole, and then that first half of the month? Because we flipped a little bit of a switch once we got to the 15th or 16th.
Yeah, a little bit there, but the forecast models for the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 kept talking warm up, warm up,
Yeah,
warm up.
yeah,
And then each day, well, maybe not, maybe not, maybe
yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's been a fascinating pattern across North America this past month that's kind of locked in and never really loosened its grip. And that's kept a little bit of a trough here along the East Coast. While it warmed up tremendously in the central part of the country, it never slid over in this direction. And we kept getting some polar feed, Arctic feed into here. So we're going to end up about 5 degrees below normal for
yeah.
this month, making it in the lower, maybe the lower third compared to the last 100 years of December temperature. Nowhere near a record, nowhere near
Nah,
record cold, but much colder than we're often used to. Now, last December, January, and February were below normal, the
yeah.
trifecta there, which was very unusual. And here we've started this winter below normal. So it's going to be very interesting. We have back-to-back winters that are below normal. Stay
Crazy.
stay tuned. Much too early to tell.
Yeah. I
But
was doing a radio interview, and someone asked, they're like, Joe, and this was like December 10th. I don't remember, but in the first half, they're like, Joe, I can't remember December it was this cold. I said, last December. It was the same. I mean, the first half of the month, I think, was well below average. Again,
yep.
I will say this one, to me, felt colder. This might have been recency bias on my part too. But I was looking like through the 15th of the month, because I was keeping tabs of this. Like, ACY Airport, they were like the 5th coldest start to the month. Atlantic City, where records go back to 1874, I mean, it was like in the top 20, which is still pretty impressive for that long. Long
Yeah.
Branch was also in the top 10. So, to your point, even with the cold we had in the first half, that still wasn't record breaking, and it wasn't even that close either. There were some years where it was brutally cold, even in
Yeah.
early December.
Yeah. I mean, if you want brutal cold, go to central Alaska into the Yukon. They are stuck at Fairbanks, Alaska, as of yesterday, had been 40 consecutive hours or something below 40 below zero. I mean, they
Yeah,
got down to
actually,
47 or 49 below zero. And even for Fairbanks, that's really cold.
yeah. I'm looking now. I'm looking at the NOAA website here. So through the 29th of the month, Fairbanks is 17 degrees below average.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder if that's a record. Maybe I'll pull that
No,
up.
it's not,
Oh, it's
because I
not.
have someone who
Wow.
I read whose reports up there. Two spots, one in the Yukon and one in Alaska, got to 62 below
Wow.
for
There,
low. But what's notable about this is it's not breaking records for extreme cold, but it's getting near some records for the duration of cold.
sure.
When you start going on 2 and 3 weeks of this cold, that's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
Um, and this one is in that territory right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So, and that air is kind of part of that feed that's coming down through central Canada here into the northeastern part of the United States. So
Yep.
it's related, but it's kind of a unique setup that's just really been stubborn. So what we're connected, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
we've
No,
covered
you're right. You're
in
right.
the first 10 minutes, we've talked about the atmosphere as a layer cake, and we've also talked about the regional connections
We're
across
3D here. We're
the globe.
vertical and horizontal here on
We
this
are, yeah,
show.
and we'll throw in the time dimension, and we got it all covered.
We do
See
it
ya.
all. 4D for us. Uh, last point on this. Even northern New England's been more below average than we have. We've kind of even sat on that cusp of some even colder air. Anyway, so I do want to get to our top 10 events
Yeah.
of the year, but I do have like a minute and I wish I spent more time on this, but let's just talk about the drought situation because that is a story. We did go back into a drought warning by the NJDP. The western half of the state is the drier part of the state. The Jersey Shore, for the most part, has been drought free. So I'll just turn it over to you if you could talk for like 45 seconds on it.
Well, that's a tease for the second part of this report because that just might happen to end up in the top 10 for the year being drought. But yeah, we're holding our own this month. We're going to end up below average, but not a lot below average, within about an inch of average. We should be about 4.5. We're going to be over 3.5 probably for the month, but we're not going to be average. And that means that we've only, of the last, 20 months, 17 have been below average. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
and we just can't snap out of this.
Yeah.
We had a very wet May. We had a pretty wet July in 2025. Other than that, every month has been below normal. Not as amazingly so as September and October of 2024, but it's the persistence of this drought that just won't let go. I'm also a little worried about Cape May County. If there's any
Yeah.
place along the coast that is in rougher shape precip-wise, it's Cape May County. Then over to Salem, they've gotten a little bit better. And then you go up into Northwest Jersey, which is where conditions are worse right now than
Yeah.
elsewhere in the state.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, big story to pay attention to as we go into next year. Both of that is on our top 10 weather events of 2025 as well. So good tease for what's going to happen after the break. We'll be back with you in just a minute. From college essays to graduate statements to career transitions, Jennifer Ansbach Coaching helps every learner take the next step with confidence. Whether you're a high school senior preparing for college, a graduate school applicant, or returning to school after time away, your words can open doors. Write, revise, rise. Visit JenniferAnsbach.com to get started. That's Jennifer, ANSBACH.com. All right, welcome back. And like we have done every year since 2018, we are doing our top 10 weather events of 2025. We're going to compare a couple of ground rules. One, I really just do the Jersey Shore. He does the whole state. So that's going to be different, although I think at the top we're about the same. A little bit of a change for me this year. I've taken a page out of your book and I'm doing more themes. I'm not, I like up until last year, I was doing more solo weather events, but I think I've come around to the Dr. Dave Robinson philosophy of top 10 weather events and putting that out there. So I think you would agree with me. It wasn't the deepest year for that. And that's probably that's a good thing. We're not too upset by that. And like I said 30 seconds ago, I think our top 3-ish are going to be about the same. So with that being said, I will. Well, any words before we get into the list?
No. I like to mix it up a little bit too with weather and climate, being a climatologist. So
Right.
some are longer term, some are acute
Yes.
individual weather events.
Right. All right. Well, then let's start. We'll have you just read your 10 through 6. I'll read my 10 through 6, and we'll talk about that for a second.
Sure. Number 10, this is a kind of a weak number 10, a late ending of the growing season in coastal and urban areas. It took till the end of November, till November 29th, for the last 4 of our weather network stations to fall to freezing.
Okay.
And the first one was October 2nd up in Walpack, a valley in the Northwest. And you add that to the beginning of the growing season, the last freeze of last spring, which was in early March near at one coastal area. and it wasn't until early May up in the
Yeah.
Northwest valleys. You had a difference in the frost-free growing season of what was it? 116 days.
Okay.
You're
Wow.
between your last
Yeah.
freeze in the spring and your first spring in the fall. 116-day difference across this little state of ours.
Yeah.
That's
Jersey,
that's
small state.
almost 4 months. That's almost 4 months shorter growing season. So
Yeah.
anyway, number 10. Number nine, odd locations of the heaviest snow events. There are only 3 snow events this year with 8 or more inches of
Okay.
snow was recorded. 2 of them were in Cape May County.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other one was up in Monmouth County, aforementioned December snow, which
Yeah.
also hit 8 inches up at Vernon in Sussex County.
Yeah.
Just really strange
Yeah,
distribution
that is
of that.
strange. Wow, yeah, I should have put that. That would have been a good one. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Number 8, I'm listening to it today, windy episodes. We
Mhm.
have now 70 weather stations. One's just 3 weeks old, but 69 weather stations. A couple of them are sheltered, so we don't look at wind, but figure over 60 stations. 98 days this year. No, make it 99 because it's today as
Today.
well. One or more of our stations has gusted to 40 miles an hour or greater.
Whew, crazy.
That's pretty darn impressive for this. And it gets on 30 days have gusted to 50 or better. So anyway, it's been a windy year. People keep asking me, is New Jersey getting windier? And on the whole, our studies haven't really shown any trend.
Yes, correct.
But you get years like this where we've had some really nasty windy days
Yeah.
in 2026. Number 7, it's usually up near the top, but a warm year historically, when you
Yeah.
look back 131 years, this year looks like it's going to rank around 20th, 21st warmest.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Right. Yeah.
But it's the coolest year since 2014.
Yeah.
So it's been a decade since we've been this cool. So it's not in my top 1, 2, or 3 this year. It's all the way
Yeah.
down at number 7.
I just want to jump in real quick. I wrote an article for Sure Local top 10 weather events. In my prelude, I wrote that this was the first time in 10 years that we're probably not going to be in the top 20 for the warmest years, but I didn't include it as an event, but maybe I should, that was a good one. That was a good one.
And preliminary average for the year is exactly that of the 1991 to 2020 normals. We'll see. It could
Yeah.
be a tenth of a degree off.
Okay.
Okay, number 6, coastal flooding associated with Hurricane Erin. And we
Yes.
may debate this,
We are going to debate this, but yes.
but that storm in late August was a huge, large size hurricane, but it was well off the coast. So it didn't bring much rain, if any, to New Jersey. It didn't bring a lot of wind to New Jersey, but it generated huge swells that pushed up to the coast and gave us an unusually high water levels along the coast with associated erosion. So there's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Okay. So I am pretty different. I don't have any of your 6 here, but I'll just go. Number 10, I have Fortescue got up to an 88-degree dew point on July 25th. That doesn't happen very often. That was pretty extreme. We had a heat index of 109 at 8 p.m. That is rare. You don't get that. Okay. Number 9, July 25th, severe heat to severe weather. We were 95 to 100 inland during the day. We had a water spout off of LBI. We had a 66-mile-an-hour wind gust in Seaside Heights, numerous downed trees and power lines in Ocean and Monmouth. It was associated with a cold front moving in from the northwest. Number 8, do you know that this is our longest streak without a white Christmas at the Jersey Shore?
I did not, because a lot of the state had a white Christmas last year.
Yes, that is true, but not ACY Airport, Cape May, Long Branch, no white Christmas. The last white Christmas was 2009, and that is the longest streak on record there. So I thought that was noteworthy. We'll keep it in the winter theme. This one, I put it at 7. I probably should have made it lower in retrospect, but February 18th to the 20th, this was the latest 3-day streak of sub-freezing temperatures since the year 1993. So from the 18th to the 20th, we were sub-freezing. Last time that happened was 1993. And in Long Branch and in Atlantic City International, it was the longest streak below 30 since 1980. So impressive late season cold. We flipped it to the heat wave June 21st to the 25th. The reason why I say this is because you don't really get triple digits all that much in June, especially at the coast where you get a sea breeze, kicks that stuff, kicks that heat out. But we got up to 102 at ACY Airport 2 days in a row. That was the longest streak of 100-degree temperature since 2011. Longest 100-degree plus streak in June on record. And even AC Marina broke daily records both night and during the day. And that's what I have for 10 through 6.
That's number 6?
No, that was number 6.
That's my number 5.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. Look at that. I thought you were just going to not include it. Interesting. What else do you have on that heat wave?
I have late June heat wave. I called it from the 23rd to the 25th. Multiple stations within our weather network hit the century mark. 17 came in at 100 or 101 on the 23rd. 37 of our stations came in between 100 and 103 on the 24th, and 12 between 100 and 102 on the 25th. And Hamilton joined in on the 24th, 25th for being the top in the state, or tied at 103 and then 102. So, and then I also look at what was the coolest highs on those days.
Yeah.
And the coolest highs on the 23rd was 89 at Harvey, Cedars, and Seagirt.
That's
right on the coast.
There, yeah.
The next day, the super hot day, the coolest high temperature was 93. And that was at Harvey Cedars, and then up at Vernon Township at the top of the ski slope, and at High Point Monument. And then the 25th, High Point Monument stood alone at 89 for a high. So High Point Monument got up over 90 on the 23rd and 24th. And sometimes we go years without that station getting over 90. So you look at it on the cooler side of the heat, if you will. And you looked at low temperatures, and kudos to you for doing that. I concentrated probably too much on high temperatures.
No, I mean, I didn't read off numbers for the lows, but they were record, temperatures there.
Yeah.
All right.
We better get moving.
We do have to get moving, but I built in a little wiggle room here, so we'll be okay. I did want to say my number 5 was the October 12th nor'easter. Now yours is higher than that, right?
Number 4.
You're 4. Okay. So did I bump you down a little bit? Weren't you? Did you text me number 3? It was going to be, no. Okay.
No.
All right. So we were in the same boat there. There's a lot to be said with this. Strong winds. We had a number of spots at the coast that gusted over 50. Harvey Cedars and Little Egg Harbor, which I got from York, got to 59. We did have AC Marina had record rainfall on that date. Seabright had 18 occupants removed from 12 flooded vehicles on Ocean Avenue. And we just had very high tides. We had 5 high tides in a row that were flooding. We had this stacking of the back bays where the wind was pushing in from the east and it couldn't fully drain out at high tide. And we did have the highest tide on record in Waretown in Ocean County. You can add whatever else you want to your number 4 there.
No, I mean, Brick Township had 4.08 inches of rain. Harvey Cedars over between the 11th and the 15th, there were 46 hours at Harvey Cedars with gusts over 40 miles an hour. So that's where I flipped what you might have thought of with Erin in this one.
Yeah.
Because this had the wind, it had the rain, and it had the back bay flooding because of the multiple high tides. Yeah. It was a mini storm of 1962.
Right. It was.
Which was in March, by the way, and it was, but it was a stalled nor'easter. It wasn't he a classic nor'easter? You can speak more to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't your classic nor'easter. And even I think at some point had some subtropical elements in it, but it didn't move, it was slow to move.
It
Now,
stalled. Yeah.
yeah, it stalled. I mean, now I had Aaron, Hurricane Aaron, as number 3. Now, we texted about this. I could see from a statewide perspective bumping this down, because if you were not in a beach town, it really didn't do anything. But I have to say, because it was the summer, this happened during the summer, and we had the record highest summertime tides on record for, I have a number of locations here. Margate was one, Avalon was another. Just to have that record tide was, I think, from a cultural perspective, something that people aren't going to forget, because there's more people that were there. And just the way that the waves looked that day, like I was out there, like it looked like a hurricane, because it was, but I think just with those record tides and the fact that it was during the summer and there were water rescues and there were strong waves and we did close the beaches down, I just think that it may not have been scientifically, the October 12th, 13th was better, but I think culturally there was a bigger impact there.
Look at you, the cultural guy. And I'm the geographer who has the human and societal side to it.
I know.
They were both notable storms. They both put the coast on warning that a lot of the defenses were eaten away by those two storms. Now, so far since then, we haven't had a significant coastal storm, which is common in a La Nina winter like last year. You don't see coastal storms. So fingers crossed, because the defenses are lost, eaten away by Aaron and that early season nor'easter. So let's hope it stays calm along the coast through the winter, because they're really targets now.
Beaches are battered in a number of spots. We don't have any federal funding for beach replenishment next year. We're going to hope that changes. But it could be a tough next couple of months. I just want to say my number 4 here was the winter winds from December into March last year. It was actually the breeziest at ACY Airport and Ocean County Airport since 2010, 2011. Cape May County Airport, breeziest since 2017-18. And the National Weather Service issued the most, or tied for the most number of wind advisories issued for Atlantic and Cape May County, going back to 2006. ACY Airport gusted to 71 miles an hour on February 16th, which was the second highest for the winter on record. So, you had winds at 6. Where'd you have it? 6 winds? 7?
Yeah, something like that. But February 16th was where we had 39 of our stations gust over 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That was one of the windier days, probably.
In recent winter history
years.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so did I miss one for you except for 1 and 2?
I got 3, 2, 1 to go still.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 3, the Jones Road wildfire.
Okay. That was my 2, and I'll let you go.
April 22nd was the worst of it, but if you look on the data, it wasn't fully extinguished till May 12th, but it was 22nd. One of the larger wildfires in decades. Contributed ongoing drought conditions, though it wasn't a red flag warning day that was done. Arson, as we all know, came, as I said in my little bullets, came perilously close to invading local communities, large evacuations, yet fortunately limited damage to or complete damage to several buildings and outbuildings. New Jersey dodged a huge bullet the evening of the 22nd. Kudos to firefighters from the state and locally, to the citizens who picked up and left or were prepared to leave. But this one really dodged. And yet it still appears as number 3 because it was such a memorable and dangerous episode.
Yep. And you can go back to our April weather roundup. We talked more about it. I was on the Parkway the next day on the 23rd. You can see those smoldering embers on the side of the Parkway. I mean, it felt like a movie. I mean, we're not used to that. I mean, even in New Jersey, we have the Pinelands. To see that right on the Parkway was pretty surreal. What do you have for number 2?
Number two is I call deadly July storms.
Okay. Yep.
There were straight line, and this two of the events center on Plainfield area at the Somerset Union Middlesex County border. Um, Straight line winds toppled trees that day on the 3rd of July, and two people were killed in one car, a third person in another car. Deadly storm number one. Deadly storm number two, a lightning death up in Sussex County, a golfer leaving the golf course struck and killed by lightning. The 14th was a deluge in that Plainfield area again.
Yeah.
Just 2 weeks later, 6.67 inches of rain in Clark and Union County. The Green Brook in Plainfield rose 11.82 feet in less than 3 hours. And on
Ooh.
one of the feeder streams,
Yeah.
a car with two women was washed into the stream, and there were two fatalities from that event. And then finally, on the 16th, a couple days later, there was that memorable lightning strike at an archery range with some scouts in
Yeah.
Jackson Township that killed an older gentleman and injured 14 people. So I put them all together into deadly July storms.
Yeah. And I think that that's definitely appropriate. I had one of those lower down, and I didn't include the lightning fatalities. I could have included the one in Jackson, but we also had one in Sussex. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was on my. I thought about it. I just didn't. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And then the number one, which is both of our number ones, is
drought,
drought. Yes.
the D word.
Yeah.
Um, Already introduced that by saying 17 of the last 20 months, dating back to May 2024, have had below normal precip. But here's one people we haven't talked about. Preliminary estimate, as of last evening, I looked at some numbers, is that precip statewide this year has totaled 39.18 inches. That's 8.3 inches below normal. So essentially 2 months worth of precip wiped off the record. But it's the 19th driest year going back to 1895. But what's really interesting, it's the driest year since 2001 and the second driest year since 1981.
Hmm.
Jersey has gotten a little bit wetter in the last several decades.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's only been drier than this twice, 1981, 2001, and now it'll be 2026, 2025, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So, and with that, we've gone in and out of drought warnings, drought watches. The drought monitor has gone all over the place. We had a little respite in the middle, in early and middle summer. Kind of caught our breath, but then back into it again. This is an ongoing situation, very climatologic in nature. We need more rain to replenish the groundwater in South Jersey, has remained low throughout this time. The reservoirs in North Jersey aren't to where they should be. Stream levels are low. We need precipitation.
It's a good way to wrap it up. We're going to hope for some of that as we go into 2026. Well, Dr. Robinson, thanks so much for being with us here. I think almost every month this year.
I think we missed one, the end of June, I think
Yeah,
you.
and I was that was due to me being away.
Yeah,
But
I've been here. Come on,
I know. Well, this goes back to our working during the holidays. I guess I can't take a holiday ever. I can't miss these monthly weather roundups. But always a pleasure doing this with you. It's great. I think it gives a lot of people, who are weather weenies and are in Jersey a good taste of what happened. We know this isn't for everybody, but if you made it this far, it's probably for you. That's what I'll say. And we like that.
And you're going to post yours, no doubt, and we'll have ours posted
Yes.
within the next couple of days on njclimate.org.
Yep. I'll have mine posted up today, and then you'll have your njclimate.org. You can check out his. He does a very nice, detailed job on everything. So only so much one video could cover, but this was a
It's been
taste
fun.
if you want more of what he has. So Anyway, we're going to wrap it up for this year. Hope you all have a wonderful new year. If you're listening to this after a new year, hope your 2026 is going great. And we'll be back with you at the end of January to recap the month that was. Hopefully a wetter or whiter month.
Whiter.
It could be whiter than what we had. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.